Hello and welcome YouTube to my Halo 3 History of Race video. This is part 1 of 2, which is all the pre-mythic maps I'm going to show you. These two videos are basically going to show you all of the very first racetrack forgers, some of the earliest racetracks ever, some of the first racetracks on the pre-DLC maps, and each map pack that was released in Halo 3, along with some of the best maps as well. And since there's so many new Halo Reach forgers, and there will be more Halo 4 forgers, I just think everyone deserves to know the origins. In an interview on halotracks.org a few years ago, Killer200, the co-founder of racing, was asked, how did you and the founder, See You Later, come across Halo Tracks in the beginning? And he said, back in early October of 2007, the beginning of my 8th grade year, See You Later, Halo Tracks founder, showed me a racetrack he made on Last Resort, which was called Last Lap. I was intrigued by the idea. I met See You Later in the Halo 3 beta after we had an extended session of me joining his party and him booting me repeatedly. Good times. After brief editing, improving the track with him, we went on to create a multitude of tracks. We began by posting them under a big topic for CU's game type, racetracks, in the old Halo forums for Halo 3. After a while, we grew quite a following and decided that it would be wise to create a Bungie.net group. With this, we officially donned the name of Halo Tracks. Things really began to skyrocket from there. We started our test and map maker systems and began to build the empire. There was Rebellious Racers somewhere in there for those of you who remember. Eventually, we outgrew the single forum Bungie.net group and were forced to create a website. Much drama ensued, but eventually we came out with the site, and I don't even want to try to summarize what has happened since then. So there you go, a brief and not very thorough history of Halo Tracks and how I got sucked into the grand scheme of things. So that is pretty much how Halo Tracks got started. See You Later created the Racetracks game type with some of his very first maps, and the Racetracks game type became the #1 most downloaded custom game type ever with over 300,000 downloads, and it became the #2 most downloaded game type ever, only second to Rocket Race, which was created by Bungie itself, and it was just another form of race. However, in this video, it's very difficult to download maps from Halo 3 now, because on the Halo Waypoint website, there is no Halo 3 files, and on Bungie, there's no way to download anymore, so I did the best I could finding the earliest maps, and let's get into it here. The first one I found, the most early racetrack ever, was Isolaunch by BladeMonkey751. This is the earliest one I could find. Not the first. Of course, See You Later and Killer made a few, but this was the first one I found. And this map is really cool. It's one of the pre-DLC maps, and this map was made less than a month after Halo 3's release, which was, I believe, September 14th, 2007. This was made October 19th, if I'm correct. And as you read in the interview, or you heard me read in the interview, they started making racetracks in early October, so Blade Monkey was one of the very first. I think he's the third one after the two founders. This next map is also Blade Monkey's, called Airborne, and this one is on high ground, and this is a really fun map. But anyways, See You Later and Killer200 were the two creators. Killer was the main founder, and See You Later was the main founder, and Killer was the co-founder. And then Blade Monkey was very short after them, since he was making maps in the middle of October, and they started at the beginning of October, which, when you think about it, less than a month after the game came out. That's crazy. This next one is called Loop-De-Loop by Killer200 and See You Later. And as Killer said in the interview, they created a multitude of tracks together, and this is one of them, called Loop-De-Loop, and this is a really cool track. It has a loop-de-loop that works decently. I'm pretty sure this is probably the very first loop-de-loop ever in a track, and it doesn't work perfectly, but it works much better than a lot of loop-de-loops that came later than this one. But it was a great track overall. This next one, again by BladeMonkey751, called Raven's Bridge. This one was made right here on Snowbound, and it's pretty cool that they were able to make such creative and amazing racetracks before, any of the good forging maps like Avalanche and Foundry and Sandbox and Standoff ever came out. But, it's just so incredible how they were able to do this and how they could think of making maps, racetracks so shortly after the game was released. This one is double track, and it is by See You Later. I'm not positive if he made this one with Killer 200 or anyone else, but it doesn't say in the description, so it's at least by See You Later. And it's very cool because after you do 5 laps, right here, you starting with lap number 6, it becomes a different racetrack, and as opposed to just doing a circle around the giant wheel, you end up going all the way down by the beach and coming back up. So it's pretty cool how people could think of things like this. You will see a map later on in the video that has a similar idea, which was a concept that a lot of forgers ended up using, which is a pretty cool concept, to have one lap and one track, and then a few laps into the map, more pieces spawn and cause you to go in a different direction and do a totally different track, which is just pretty incredible. This next track is called Turnaround by Killer 200. I don't think he made this one with anyone else. I think it was a solo track. This is a lot of fun. I never would have thought, racetracks on some of these maps like Snowbound and Valhalla were going to be possible. And this one, although it's a pretty short and simple track, it's very, very fun. I definitely enjoy this map a lot. And as someone who only liked sandbox maps, who came into racing pretty late in Halo 3, and only liked those sky tracks, those big smooth double wides, I actually had a lot of fun on all of these maps, and I really started to appreciate maps that not only weren't double wides, but weren't on sandbox, and were in fact on all sorts of maps. This one is called JumpandBridge by WhiskeyWarm. And he was, if I am correct, the 4th person to get into racetrack making after Blade Monkey and of course after Killer and CU. And this map is really cool because who would have ever thought there could be racetracks made on maps like the Pit? And this one has a big jump and a bridge. That's why it's called JumpandBridge. That's the main feature of the map. And it's just pretty cool because it's actually not a bad racetrack. And there's a few maps that were made like this, just on maps that, who would have thought a racetrack could ever be on them. And I like this map a lot. It's actually a lot of fun, believe it or not. And it's crazy that people were able to make such good maps on, such bad forging maps. This one, also by WhiskeyWarm, is called Golden. And this is a terrain track, one of the first actual terrain types of tracks, similar to I guess Turnaround by Killer, in the sense that it's also a terrain track, but this one is more so like the terrain tracks that we usually think of because it's a lot longer and it's spread out. But although the terrain of Sand Trap is very good, you had very, very limited pieces. So if you were able to make a map on this map, it had to be a terrain track, but it must have been very, very difficult. There were 0 large pieces, so you had to just use a lot of small pieces. And it's just amazing, how many maps were made on all of these maps. I never knew about any of these when I was into racetracks in Halo 3. I really only cared about the sandbox double wides. So this is, I learned a lot from this too. This next one is called Verge by WhiskeyWarm. For those of you who don't know, WhiskeyWarm had a map, a game type, and a screenshot, all of which were in the top 3 pages of most downloaded for their category in Halo 3. He had a screenshot called Escape, of a mongoose escaping from a giant explosion that I think got over 1 million downloads. He had a video clip called Live from Verge, which is this map, and it got hundreds of thousands of downloads. And he had his map Zen, which also got hundreds of thousands of downloads. So, WhiskeyWarm is just one of the original racing legends. This one is called Over the Edge by See You Later, And this is the first map that I could find from the Heroic map pack. What I'm going to do is show you all the standoff maps I found, and then all the maps of each of the maps from the Heroic map pack, which was the first map pack that ever came out in Halo 3. It was released on December 11th, 2007, containing Standoff, Rat's Nest, and Foundry. And Foundry was the most popular for racetracks, then this map, Standoff. And Rat's Nest, there was a few, only a couple I could find. But this is a crazy map because it starts out of the actual map itself, which is pretty incredible. And this map came out very shortly after the Heroic map pack. So, you know, it was just mind-boggling, I'm sure, at the time to people who played it, because, you know, I don't even understand, you know, how he could get out of the map like that. It's very, very cool. This one is called Mount Standoff, and it is by Bulle Jr. By the way, I'd like to thank Tripmine413, Bate de Rubber, and Castlefied. Those were the only 3 people I got to play with me in this whole series on Halo 3. But this one is Mount Standoff by Bulle Jr. As I said, this is a great long track. It's got a few fun jumps on it. Bulle Jr. was one of the very early racetrack forgers as well. And Bulle Jr. made a series of maps, most of them which were on Standoff. He made the most downloaded racetrack ever in Halo 3 with over 300,000 downloads. And that map was called, excuse me for 1 second, I totally forgot what that map was called. Stuntopolis V2, Stuntopolis. He was very into like stunts, like large jumps and whatnot. So I will also release the top 20 most downloaded racetracks video, and so if you'd like to see that, it's very cool. You get to see the most downloaded racetracks. I didn't put any map from any of my other Halo 3 racing series in this video, so you won't see any repeats really. This one's called Back from Space by The Last Laugh 27, and The Last Laugh 27 is also a very early and very great racetrack forger. He actually made one of the most downloaded racetracks, the third one called Saturn by which was by him, but he got help by WhiskeyWarm. That one got nearly 300,000 downloads. And I forgot to mention when I was talking about Blade Monkey and his map, he actually got the 4th most downloaded racetrack ever, which got 270,000 downloads. And, you know, all of these guys made the most downloaded racetracks ever, pretty much. These were all some of the very first racetrack forgers ever. Bulle Jr., The Last Laugh, Killer, CU, Blade Monkey, and WhiskeyWarm. They were all some of the very, very first ever. And, you know, some of these standoff maps were really cool because they had huge jumps and stuff, just things you couldn't build on maps that weren't on DLC maps. And this one is called Standoff Hills by Bulle Jr. Just another great, great standoff map. It's got one of those big bank turns. These were some of the first maps to ever have large bank turns like that. And I know a lot of, you know, Halo Reach forgers would think that a bank turn means it's perfectly smooth, means it's a double wide. But a bank turn just means a large turn that is elevated from the ground. And, that's pretty much it. Anything could be a bank turn as long as it's elevated. It just means it's banked as opposed to perfectly flat. So, you know, these maps had some crazy jumps in them, and that is why they became so popular. And these guys just really evolutionized Forge with some of the first, you know, crazy good stunt racetracks with, you know, lots of big jumps and everything. You know, they had terrain tracks mixed with, you know, stunt, and they made some of the first bank turns. This map is called Speedway V2 by See You Later. Again, Foundry came out the same day as Standoff, along with Rat's Nest, but this map is really cool. It's pretty much just a simple little NASCAR racetrack. It came out the day the map pack came out. See You Later made this map. So it's a very early map. This next one is called Rolling Thunder by Blade Monkey 751, and this map is, I believe, the very first like roller coaster as we know roller coasters today. I know sandboxes were like modern roller coasters in Halo. That was the first one. The first ones came out on Sandbox. The first one of those was Quantum. But this map was really just the first ever roller coaster, just a single wide map that's smooth and you know, just spirals up in the sky. And I know people think this isn't smooth because the pieces aren't inside each other, but at the time, you know, this was an incredibly smooth map. Incredible. I remember one of my friends showing me that map, and I was just, you know, blown away. This is Ski Slope by The Last Laugh 27. We've already seen a few of his maps on Standoff. He was making Foundry maps pretty much at the same time, since the maps came out on the same day. And this one has a little bit of a roller coaster section to it, as you can see. However, it also has a really unique and different part at the end of it, which is just very, very cool, and that's why it's called Ski Slope. For the most part, it's a fast-paced map. You have to slow down a little bit when you go into the tunnel or the hallway area, but the end of this map is really cool. It's just this giant downhill with a big jump, which is why it's called Ski Slope, because you know, it's like a ski slope. This one is called Zombie Rider by Killer1251. This was one of the very first really smooth double wide maps I could find. I'm sure it's not the very first, and that's not what I'm saying, but it's very hard to find maps, and this was one of the first that I could find. So it's you know, it's a very cool, very smooth map. This next one is called Quaser by Dream76. Dream was the creator of Battle Tracks and Savage Tracks, but Battle Tracks was his most popular. Battle Tracks is huge in Halo Reach. He brought it back, and this map, I'm not sure if it's his first one. Again, I just don't know. It's very hard to find maps, and this is one of his Battle Tracks maps, though. I'm pretty sure it was made back in 2008, so if not the first, it's one of the first. And so is this one called Quake Island. Battle Tracks, for those of you who may not know, is when, you know, as opposed to 8 racers, there could be 16 at the time, and there's one person on the back of the racer with a sniper rifle or any kind of weapon, and they try to kill the other racing teams. So, you know, Dream really, really influenced a lot in the foraging community by creating the Battle Tracks game type. This map is Fahrenheit by HJ117, and although it was made much later than the previous maps I've shown, I just wanted to show it because I feel like this one is incredibly smooth, and I just wanted to show not only some of the earliest double wide maps, but some of the best. So that's why I threw that map in there. This is an incredible map, though. This one is called Whiplash by JBaron402. JBaron was the creator of the Demo Tracks game type, also created in 2008. Early 2008, both of these game types were created. And this was not the first ever demo track, but this was one of his first maps. Still made on Foundry, so you can tell it's an early map, and it's really cool. And the demo game type is about, you know, a few people trying to score points while they have teammates who are on mongooses blocking the other teams. And this one is Corridors by King Edward I, and it was made much, much later than that one, at least a year or two after. However, I wanted to put it in because these were the only 2 demo tracks I was able to get my hands on. Very difficult to download maps. I did my best with this whole video trying to get the first or the earliest map of every type of category I could possibly find. This next map is called Pinball Tunnel V2 by WhiskeyWarm, and this was the earliest map I could find that was created on Rat's Nest. There was only 2 maps I really found on Rat's Nest. I'm sure there was plenty more, but these were the only 2 I could find. This map, similar to Double Track by See You Later and possibly Killer, is one of the tracks where you do 1 lap, and then on a second lap, more pieces spawn, and you end up doing something else. And it's a really cool concept. I really like that concept a lot. But this is a pretty cool map, seeing as that no one had ever really made a map on Rat's Nest before. It's pretty cool to see something, you know, unique like this with a big working jump. I had a little bit of trouble with the jump at some point, but I mean, jumps were not perfected then, as they could be much later on in Halo 3 or in Halo Reach. But this is the second part. After you do 1 lap, you end up doing this. For your second lap, you go totally inside as opposed to the outside of Rat's Nest. So what WhiskeyWarm's really doing is using, all of Rat's Nest. He's not wasting a single part of it, which is pretty incredible that he was able to do this and still make it a pretty fast-paced map. Using these tiny little indoor areas, it still didn't end up turning out too slow. But, definitely a great track, definitely something, very different. Besides, Double Track by CU, and I'm sure a few others, this one was still the first one, at least, I believe, on Rat's Nest. And it's very cool. I like this part as well. It's definitely could be collision causing. Bate de Rubber and I didn't end up hitting each other on this one, but if there was a lot of people, they would have. So it's also kind of like a collision course track as they're known today. But the rest of the lap is just the same. This map is called I Backflip by Ego Dude, and I'm pretty sure this is the first map ever to have a backflip in it. And Ego Dude, as you'll see with Killer 200, they made some incredible maps on Sandbox. They made the first ever Sandbox racetrack, and they made one of the most downloaded Sandbox racetracks. There's the backflip. As you can see, it's just incredible. It's awesome. But Ego Dude is the creator of the backflip. He actually has a video clip in his file share called Perfect Backflip, which has hundreds of thousands of downloads. And this map is Goosetown by WhiskeyWarm. This is the legendary map pack now. The legendary map pack was released much later than the heroic map pack. As I said previously, the heroic was released around December 11th, 2007. And much later, this map pack was released, I believe, around April of 2008, April 15th or so of 2008. And this map by WhiskeyWarm is pretty fast-paced and, just a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it. This next one is Skyway by Killer 1251, and this isn't quite as good, I don't think, as WhiskeyWarm's map, Goosetown. However, this map is almost entirely in the sky, which is something that not many people had done at this point. This was the first track that was mostly in the sky I could find on Goosetown. Some of the only racetracks I could find. There was a few others, but they were made much, much later, like in 2009. So the game came out in September of 2007. By December, we had the heroic map pack, and now by April we had the legendary map pack. And I like this map overall, except towards the end here, as you could see, he ended up using some really slow areas with like kind of sharp turns, and so I don't think it ended too well. But as one of the only and probably one of the first maps on Goosetown, it's definitely good. This map is called the Big Dipper, and it's by A Dead Guinea Pig, nice gamer tag, and Extreme76X, and this is the best loop-de-loop I've ever seen in Halo 3 or Reach. Ever in Halo history, it is a perfect loop-de-loop. It works perfectly. I played this with TripMine413, and he's like, you have to put this map in the video. And I was planning to anyways, but I agree. That is the best loop-de-loop ever. It works like 98% of the time. This one's called the Jackrabbit. This one's also by A Dead Guinea Pig. And I've played plenty of Blackout racetracks. I actually made one myself, which you'll see in my personal Forge history videos. But these are just the first two I was able to find. I had a limited amount of people's file shares I could download from. Luckily, I'm friends with Killer 200, WhiskeyWarm, Slick, and SMM on Xbox, so I was able to go to a lot of the early Racetrack Forgers file shares through their friends list, so thank God I had them on my friends. This one is called Ghost Rider by Killer 1251, and this is one of the very first Blackout, not Blackout, Avalanche racetracks. There were plenty of Avalanche racetracks made. Slick's Slick his map Meltdown 2 ended up being the first racetrack ever in Bungie Favorites, which was made here. This one is Arctic Thunder by A Dead Guinea Pig. I know you'll see a lot of these old gamer you'll see a lot of maps made by the same people, but that's because these are the people who made the first maps on all these maps. But again, this is just a really cool map. They were pretty simple, just like, you know, a few turns and a few little hills, but there weren't a ton of pieces on Avalanche. But they were still really fast-paced and fun maps. And this map is Lava Pit by Goldman010. It's the first and only map I have ever seen made on Cold Storage. Cold Storage was a free map given away by Bungie on Bungie Day, which was July 7th, 2008. And this is the last pre-mythic map ever released, so this is the last map of the first part. But thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to watch part 2, which is all the mythic maps and all the maps made on the mythic maps. So thank you guys very, very much for watching.